Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Irish Cage Podcast YouTube channel. Um, yeah, we have done well. I've done a couple of these now over the weekend for the NFL. Um, and normally, obviously, we have our regular episodes out every week, but as I said, we can't really get at that right now with everything. So I thought, obviously, we can't really do, or I can't really do on my own some of the nerd stuff that we want to do. It's to be fair, they're better banter when you have a few people around the table and cracking away. Like we were going to do the Mandalorian season 2 review and stuff like that there, so that'll all be coming at some point. Um, Hopefully soon, obviously, but restrictions and everything. So, but what I can do, I suppose, on my own, at least anyway, the NFL's done for the weekend. So I thought I'd do a little bit of football talk. We obviously have plenty of football chat on the channel as well. So I thought I'd give this a go. I'm sort of working with a stack of CD cases and my phone. I've turned the camera around this time and I've got an extremely white light behind that. So hopefully it comes out okay. Maybe it's coming out, well, the first one was very dark. Yesterday's one was a bit better. So I'm using the back facing camera now to see if it's any better anyway. But yeah, another one of these wee short videos here for the channel and that. This one's probably a bit more appealing. I know that not everybody that watches our channel is massive into the NFL and stuff, so maybe this will be a wee bit better for anybody else. Football. One of the things that we would have probably been talking about, because of the month that it is and everything, is January and the January transfer window. I've seen a little bit of this stuff going about anyway, so I thought I'd try it myself. I'm gonna talk about a January transfer signing for the Big Six. I've done one signing for each of the Big Six sides, and I see what you make of it. Sure, a signing in a position probably that I feel like they need, and maybe a signing that I feel they can get. Some of them have, are sort of immediate need now and impact signings, and some of them I think some of the ones I've made have maybe been a bit with the future in mind and stuff. So I'll start out with Arsenal anyway. Arsenal are in a weird spot at the moment. I think they seem to be giving Arteta the time that he needs. Obviously he came in and it looked pretty good to start with. Obviously they won the FA Cup and that, and then this season's been a little bit more of a struggle. You know, I think that, well, I've said it on the podcast a few times. I think that Arteta and Arsenal have kind of been compensating for where they're bad at. I think that he's been a little bit overcautious at times, and with the playing of the five at the back and stuff. And I don't think that that's kind of the way Arteta wants to play. Obviously, we all sort of think that he's of the Pep mold, and that's probably where he wants to get to. But I feel like at the minute he's kind of overcompensating, having to cover for defensive issues and stuff like that. There, obviously, the injuries to the likes of Thomas Partey and stuff hasn't really helped, because maybe they would add a bit more defensive solidity in there, and then he could play with maybe his four at the back I think that he wants to play. But I think one thing that maybe Arsenal fans and stuff have maybe been crying out for is they feel like they're not really getting creativity from the midfield. I know that there's the sort of stuff around Lacazette, Aubameyang. Willian hasn't really been performing up front, but I do feel like they have a lot of talent in the attacking areas. You have the likes of Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli's back now, and obviously you have good talent as well in Aubameyang and the likes of Lacazette. So obviously the Ozil thing, that's dragged on and everything else. But attacking midfield is kind of where I felt that they probably needed the most help. I'd say that's probably a common enough thought for most Arsenal fans or football fans. I've seen a lot of links to the likes of Julian Brandt and maybe like Julian Draxler as well. I've taken a wee bit of, I've tried to not be too just with the consensus. I've just had my own thoughts on it, so maybe a wee bit of a difference of opinion, and maybe a name or two that maybe isn't just doing the rounds. There's definitely one that's doing the rounds and stuff like that. But for Arsenal anyway, I went with Ricky Puig, the sort of centre attacking mid from Barcelona. I think we done maybe like a team rebuild at some point, and I had mentioned Ricky Puig for Barcelona and how he should be getting more game time. He is in that sort of Iniesta mould, but he has only had 3 appearances, I think, in La Liga this year, and there's sort of rumours of a rift between him and Ronald Koeman. So I think that he could be a good, like if you think of Pep Guardiola, coming from that system, and Arteta, and we assume that he wants to play that sort of. It's a sort of Spanish brand of football, and Ricky Puig fits that. He is in an Iniesta style mode, like he can play a bit deeper. It's not really a number 10 role anymore. It's more of like an advanced 8 role, I think. You have to be able to come a little bit deeper, help defensively, and Puig can do that. He's good at beating the press. He's a great dribbler, and something that could just add a bit of a spark to an Arsenal midfield that has, maybe Dani Ceballos, they thought they could come in and do that, but he hasn't really been fantastic. I think Puig can come in and offer them something a bit different. On Transfermarkt, he's valued at 16 million now. Transfermarkt is always a wee bit low on their valuations, I feel, so it could be a bit more than that. But if he's not getting any game time at Barcelona, he's maybe had a falling out with the manager and stuff, and maybe Koeman doesn't last that much longer, to be fair. But if he's not getting the game time, and I think he's a talented footballer, and if you think of Arteta, the mould that he comes from, Pep Guardiola, Barcelona, Spanish football, and you think of the likes of David Silva, even Phil Foden now for Barcelona, or for Man City rather. I think Ricky Puig, in that sort of just advanced 8 role, that's been a staple of Pep Guardiola sides and stuff like that there. So I think that Puig can maybe imitate that at least a little bit. He comes from a system where in Barca and through the youth setup and stuff that is similar, plays with that sort of role. We all know it. So I think that maybe he's an option that Arsenal could go for this January. I think so. If it could be a wee bit more than 16 million, but if he's not getting any game time, why the hell not? Chelsea then. Chelsea were a wee bit hard, I felt. It's hard to know. They obviously spent an awful lot of money the summer past with Werner, Havertz, Ziyech in the January prior. So they've spent a lot of money recently. And their team's quite good without performing very well. I have my own thoughts on Frank Lampard, but it is what it is. They're good in a lot of positions. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of youth. And it's just whether they're getting the best out of them right now. But the one position I went for is defensive midfield. Obviously, Jorginho was a very sorry signing. It was something to help him out. A very specialised role. Obviously, it's not really a defensive midfielder. It's sort of that, what would you call it, like a deep line playmaker. For anybody that's a Football Manager fan, you would assume that that's more of a Jorginho type. And Kante hasn't really, obviously injuries have taken their toll and stuff. Kante maybe hasn't performed just as well. He's showed wee signs this season, to be fair, has Kante to get back to his best, but he had a wee bit of a rougher year last year. And I think that's maybe just one position. They're obviously they're very deep in the attacking areas. They've got a lot of talent up front. I feel like their midfield, they have got good players in there. But I feel like it's the area that they're probably most light in. You could maybe say centre back also, but they have a lot of names back there. They still have Christensen, Rudiger, Thiago Silva. So they have a lot of names at centre half that they could still plug in. Obviously, I just don't think that that's priority right now. So I think defensive mid's the one I went for anyway. And I went with Denis Zakaria out of Borussia Mönchengladbach. I think I've recommended him a couple of times since we've done the sort of club rebuilds podcast that we've been doing. He's a very talented player, and he's 24 years of age now, so he's coming into sort of his early prime anyway. I think this is the right time for him to make a move to a bigger club. Gladbach obviously got through and into the next round of the Champions League this year, sort of by the skin of their teeth really, but at the same time I think he's a very talented footballer, big physical player, and good on the ball too. There's been a lot of links around Declan Rice. I've sort of had my opinion changed a little bit on Declan Rice over this last while. I thought he was slightly overrated. A lot of hype around him and stuff, but then he's a young player too. They can develop and stuff. But this last while he's definitely improved. So I think that there's probably an area that they're targeting anyway. for help with Kante, and I don't think Jorginho's really going to last much longer at the club. He's not really what they need in there. So I went with Zakaria. I think he's a fantastic footballer. And he can add a bit of sort of power, strength, and physicality to that midfield. Like, Kante is what Kante is, but slightly undersized and everything too. Kovacic as well. You've seen a lot of Mason Mount in that three. So, if you're talking about maybe the likes of a Liverpool midfield coming up against them, who are very physical, tough, determined and stuff like that, that's maybe where they could lose the battle, and losing any game in midfield is difficult. So I think that Zakaria could definitely add a good bit to that. He's playing at a fairly high level anyway at Gladbach, and this is the time for him to probably make a big move. I've sort of been saying it for a while, but maybe he'll get there. Next up's Liverpool. I think everybody knows where Liverpool need help at the minute. Obviously, we've got a great team. We've had a few injuries. Thiago, Jota and stuff have sort of, stalled us a wee bit going forward. But I think that Liverpool are playing within themselves a little bit at the minute. I might do another video later on this week. It's Liverpool United this weekend, so I might do a wee video on that. But obviously Liverpool are very short at centre half at the minute. It's sort of, Liverpool have sort of quashed rumours of signing the centre half this year, or in January anyway, and I think that they need to. If you really want to have title aspirations this season to retain the title, I think we need a centre half in right now. Joel Matip and Fabinho's fine when they're there. Matip's reliability and durability is the issue. And then you're throwing in a kid that played for like Kidderminster and Nat Phillips, who was playing in the Bundesliga 2 last year. So the step down there is quite significant. It's quite a gap. We're not going to really see any of Joe Gomez or Virgil van Dijk this year. Virgil van Dijk definitely not. Gomez, they're sort of saying that he may be back towards the end of the year. But I think that we need a centre half. If you really want to compete, I think we need a centre half. The other day we had Jordan Henderson lining up alongside Fabinho in that position. So the problem with that is it's just, it makes everywhere else worse. It's the spine of your team. Two of your probably starting central midfielders are now playing centre half, so that weakens your central midfield too, and this is maybe why Liverpool are going through a little bit of a blip at the minute. Well, at least it is in my opinion anyway. But there's been links to Sven Botman from Lille. He's 20 years of age. Obviously the French league at the minute has its issues around, I think, their TV deal, so the French sides are a bit cash strapped at the minute. There's been heavy enough links to Sven Botman. I think he's Dutch. I can't say that I know an awful pile about the player. So that's been bandied about a little bit. So I thought I'd go somewhere else, just a wee bit of a different one. Because Botman's quite, has been talked about a good bit anyway. I went with Per Schuurs, another Dutch centre half, 21 years of age, and he plays for Ajax. I know a little bit more about him just literally through the fact that Liverpool played Ajax this year in the Champions League group stage, and he looked very competent. Obviously, there's obviously going to be a step up as far as coming from the Eredivisie to the Premier League, but it's sort of the breeding ground for good talent. He is quite young, on Transfermarkt he's billed at between 10 and 11 million to 10 and 11 million. I think that could be way off, in all honesty. I think that you could maybe see 30 million. I think Donny van de Beek left Ajax, and he was around 34, 35 million. Obviously, I think he went to United for that. So I think that could be the range that you're looking at as far as a top player coming from Ajax. I think that could be their asking price. Maybe slightly less because Van de Beek was a little bit older. But I could maybe see it being around the 25 to 30 million mark maybe. He's a talented boy. He's a big fella too. Good in the air and as you would expect in an Ajax system, comfortable on the ball. So that's where I went. I think that if you got him in, then you have Fabinho, you have Matip when he's healthy, and I think that would solidify Liverpool's defence enough to probably let them kick on and win the league this year. I think that the issues at centre half is what's really holding us back. So I think that it would be a mistake if Liverpool didn't sign a centre half in January, and obviously it's cover for the future. If Joel Matip can't go week to week, playing 2 games in a week, you can't have that rolling in the next season either. So then you have competition for places. Your three main centre halves then are Joe Gomez, Per Schurz, and Virgil van Dijk, which is good. And then if Matip's the fourth choice, that's fine. And then if you want to retain the likes of Reece Williams or Nat Phillips or whatever, or maybe some other youngster, Sepp Vandenberg, I think maybe still in the youth setup. So I think that's a good first three anyway, going forward. You think you have to look a wee bit to the future as well. Man City was a tough one. City squad's bloated. It's hard and it's good, so it's hard to know where they need help. Obviously they signed in Ruben Diaz to sort of help their centre half issue. Obviously, John Stones has kicked on again. He's playing some good stuff at the minute too. They have a wealth of options up front as well. They did lose the likes of Sané and that, but Ferran Torres and Sterling and everything too, and Aguero was coming back. So I thought I'd go with left back. I know that Man City have signed wing backs to try and solve that problem multiple times now. But at the same time, left back still is one of their weaknesses, one of their problem areas in the team. So this is probably the one that I'm playing straight down the middle. I've decided to go with Alaba from Bayern Munich. He's played with Pep before. And we all know his situation. He's 28 years of age now. If his contract wasn't in the last 6 months, I feel like this one is a bit hit and do City really need a centre back or a left back right now? Maybe not. Maybe they wait to the summer and sign Alaba on a free transfer and give him big stinking wages. That's a possibility. But they could sign him now. Maybe if you wanted to offer Bayern 10 million, because it doesn't look like he's going to sign a new deal. Maybe 10, 15 million. 10 million maybe. You could maybe see something like that getting done. Get him in early. He's obviously played with Pep before and he fits the style a bit, because Pep doesn't really need fullbacks to be he plays with inverted fullbacks. You see like Kyle Walker and that tucking into midfield. We all know about that in Pep's system. And Alaba's played centre mid for his country in Austria. He's capable on the ball. He's more than perfect for that role, and he's played under Pep before. He knows the system. I think that would just be a smart piece of business for Manchester City. It would really make that backline formidable again. If you had the likes of Laporte back, Diaz, Kyle Walker and David Alaba, that's a backline that could win you the Premier League. I think Man City are rolling a bit right now, and if they brought in Alaba, I think that could be enough to really push them to the title. Really shore up the backline, and then get fit as far as your attacking options. And I think it's hard to really recommend. I don't appreciate recommending anybody for City to play. Not that they're listening, but they've all the money in the world and they can sign whomever they want. Really, Messi coming in the summer or something. Next up, Man United. I suppose a one for debate here. A lot of United fans would say maybe centre half. A lot of Man United fans, because of the links to Sancho in the summer, would say right wing. Now I know that you've signed is it Diallo for the right wing spot. I think he's joined. So the only other position that I can think of, or that probably is well thought of for Manchester United, is centre defensive midfield. Matic had a good year last year. Matic was solid, and he was a good point at the base of that midfield to let Manchester United attack. He gave a bit of structure and solidity there, and give you a platform to attack from. I don't think Fred's the answer in just that definitive position. Now, Fred's played well this last week, and they've sort of went, when they have to be a little bit more structured, they've sort of went with McTominay and Fred to sort of give them that structure in the midfield. Now, I think if you have an out-and-out centre defensive midfielder that is capable, I think he can do that role on his own and doesn't need another beside him. Or you can mix and match a little bit at least anyway. It gives you another option, and I don't think Matic is really, well, he's not getting any younger, and he hasn't been fantastic this season. So centre defensive midfield. I think it also allows you to, if you did get a solid centre defensive midfielder in, it allows you to push Fred just like a little bit forward, and he's very good at like pressing, putting people under pressure, pressing from behind, and sort of allowing him to tackle a bit more, push forward and tackle. If that's the way you want to go, if you want to play with a midfield three of whomever is centre defensive midfield, Fred, and then maybe Bruno Fernandes. Or if you want to play a little bit more attacking again, you have Pogba or and Fernandes, or you have Van de Beek and Fernandes. Although I think Van de Beek might be the Pogba replacement. I think that Pogba could be out the door, and Van de Beek could be the guy to step in, and that's the role that they've sort of outlined for him. Maybe I think Ollie made comments recently of Van de Beek might have to wait till next season, but I think that could be in mind of maybe Paul Pogba leaving. So I went with defensive midfield anyway, and I went with Boubakary Soumaré from Lille. As I said earlier, I think I did say earlier about the French league and them needing money. So there's players up for sale, and Boubakary Soumaré has done fairly well. As a good friend of mine says, we need a attacking centre defensive midfielder. You know who you are. So an attacking centre defensive midfielder, and Boubakary Soumaré is that. He's 6'2". He's a physical, tall player, so a little bit in the Matic mould in that way, but far better on the ball. Matic has got a good sort of array of long passing, but can be a bit slow. Wouldn't be as fluid on the ball. Soumaré's actually very good at beating like a press and stuff too. So if you do press him even with his back to goal, he's very comfortable at turning, taking a man on, and driving into the midfield at least a little bit. I think that's in somewhat of a similarity. That's kind of what Fabinho can do as well. Can sort of set up attacks from that defensive midfield position, take men out of the game and create a little bit. And I think that Soumaré could be that. Now, he's only 21 years of age, so maybe he's not ready to just drop right in to, a Premier League title race if United think they are in one. Maybe they are. But at the same time, you still have Matic there, you still have Fred there, you still have McTominay there. You have options in them roles now, and I think that he's better just as a holding mid. He's a better holding. He is a holding mid. That's what he is. I don't think Fred is that entirely, and I don't think McTominay is that entirely either. So I think that he would be the Matic replacement, and obviously Matic isn't going to last forever either. So I think he could be out the door shortly, at least anyway. So I went with him. He's valued in around 20 million. As I said, transfer market's always usually low, but at the minute, with the French league the way it is, maybe they take 20 million. They could need the money. That's United wrapped up. And then last and not least, obviously, is Spurs. Spurs is another interesting one. Obviously, they've got a wealth of attacking options going forward. I don't think that they needed anybody up there. Midfield look better. I think Jose's getting a bit more out of them. Even Ndombele, who looked a little bit lost when Jose came in, has been better of recent. So I think the midfield's fine. They've obviously moved to address issues at the back somewhat with the signings of Matt Doherty and Reguilon in the wing-back areas. So the only option really left, I thought, was centre-half. Really, they're this season, it's been Eric Dyer and Toby Alderweireld. Now, Toby's 31, 32 now. And Eric Dyer... Look, they've done okay defensively, Spurs, but it is more the Mourinho system and him putting them in position to win and putting them being defensive, covering them. I think if you were maybe a more attacking side, Spurs, that if you were playing Eric Dyer at centre half, you might see a little bit a bit more of the weakness of Eric Dyer at centre half. But he's went with Eric Dyer pretty consistently. Toby Alderweireld has really kicked into the team a good bit this last while now too. Haven't seen much of Davinson Sanchez, so I think that they're weak. That's really your three. I suppose you can play Ben Davies a bit at centre half, but that's really their three at centre half at the minute. Japhet Tanganga hasn't really been seen in a while either. So this is maybe a little bit more of a one for the future, or maybe he drops straight into the team. Maybe, possibly. Jose's not a big fan of younger players, and this is a younger player, but at the same time, a talented young player. So I went, and this is a pretty straight bat one too. I went with Ibrahima Konate from RB Leipzig. Anybody that's a football fan probably know. Well, we all know about the RB Leipzig centre halves. Everybody's after them. Upamecano there'll be some amount of transfer talk around that young man this year. But I went with Konate because I feel like he maybe fits Mourinho specifically a bit more. He's 6'4", so Jose loves that shit. And yeah, he's big, powerful, physical, dominant in the air. So they're all things that just scream Jose Mourinho. Um, he's valued in around 36 million on transfer mark. Now I think that could be closer to maybe 50. But if Spurs want to have a real go at it this year, I know that they had a wee bit of a blip more recently, but if they really want to have a go at it, I think if you had like Kanate, Toby Alderweireld, and then Højbjerg sitting in front of them, that sort of three there is pretty damn good. And just looks a lot more stable, really, I feel. I still don't really trust Eric Dyer at centre half, and I know Jose has. But at the same time, I think he lacks experience in the position, and maybe he would be better in a three at the back. But as far as a two, and they're playing with two at the back, really, I think they played more recent in one game with a three, but it's usually a two. So I think that maybe Dyer can be hid a little bit if it was a three. But if you're going to play straight up with two at the back, I wouldn't be entirely comfortable with Eric Dyer there for the entirety of a season and to win you trophies and maybe challenge for a title. I would go with Kanate. As I said, it's around 36 million. It's probably higher than that. It's probably closer to 50. But big, powerful, strong, good in the air. A real centre half in the Jose Mourinho mould, sort of no nonsense. But I would say pretty capable on the ball too. But if you have Toby Alderweireld in there starting games, he's a great passer of the football, so that takes the onus off the likes of somebody like Konate a little bit. But yeah, let me know what you think if you tune in. As I say, hopefully we'll be back shortly enough and recording the podcast and getting them out on the podcast streaming sites. But we'll see. We'll play it by ear. And for now, I'll keep doing a few more of these videos and throwing them up on YouTube and seeing how they do. If they go anywhere or they get a wee bit of interaction or whatever, I'll keep doing them. But yeah, I might do another one later in the week. Obviously Manchester United Liverpool, it's a big game. I think United have Burnley. I think they play Burnley in the middle of the week, so they could go top. And then obviously it's Liverpool Manchester United, big derby game. So I might do one for it during the week. Do another wee short build up video or something, and throw it out as well. But that'll do me for now, I think. Vesti's talked about doing one. We'll see what way it goes. Maybe Big Kirby will do something. And we'll see what happens. I'll probably be back later in the week too, obviously to do maybe a little bit more NFL build up for next weekend's games, the divisional round. So I'll be back doing that too. But thanks very much for tuning in, folks, as well. If you are tuning in, maybe this one's a bit more of a wider appeal. I know a lot of people do like our nerd topic stuff, but it's better to have people in the room and a bit of crack going and stuff like that there. That's where we kind of joke around and get to have a bit more of a laugh on the podcast and that too. So we'll save the nerd stuff as far as the YouTube goes till we get back on the podcast streaming sites and getting recording again and that, because they're good crack them ones, and we've got a great few plans for them too. But for now, I'll just keep throwing out maybe these wee sport ones, wee build up ones, and hopefully we'll be back shortly. But thanks very much for listening, folks, and I'll wrap it up with that. Cheers.